This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No.
Nope.
Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to DBL. Everyone looking good. Jeff got a haircut. Looking.
Tori gets mad when I
Don't like it.
Really, it looks good though.
Thank you.
It looks great. I didn't notice it till right now.
Yeah, I didn't know that this
Yeah,
was
he got a
I didn't know it was a thing either.
Thing.
Tori
Looks
gets
great.
mad when I try to better myself.
You know what? We're moving on.
It's a weird thing you need to talk to your therapist
Oh,
about.
I'm seeing her today.
Well, bring it
Love
up
her.
first thing.
I will.
Dr. Morgan.
Dr. Morgan, welcome to DBL. We're starting today with a huge new lawsuit. More than 36 states are now suing Meta, the company that owns Facebook and Instagram. Might have heard of those. They claim these social media platforms are harming young people's mental health. Here's what California's Attorney General had to say about it. Take a listen to this.
Meta has repeatedly misled the public about the substantial dangers of its products. It has concealed the ways in which Instagram and Facebook exploit and manipulate its most vulnerable consumers, teenagers and children. We know, thanks to our investigation, as well as disclosures by former insiders, that the company knows the following. Instagram is harmful to a significant percentage of teenagers, especially teen girls.
So Meta is responding to the lawsuit. Let's hear what some of the company said on their side. They said, quote, "We're disappointed that instead of working productively with companies across the industry to create clear, age-appropriate standards for the many apps teens use, the attorney generals have chosen this path." Wow. What do we think of all this? Is this as serious as the lawsuits against big tobacco in the 90s? I took it a step further and went to the vape and Juul lawsuits of them purposefully, and again, that word's important, purposefully addicting the teens and kids of our youth. And they have actual ads that go to them. The algorithm goes to them. And Meta research says that 13.5% of teen girls on Instagram say the platform makes them thoughts of suicide and self-injury worse. And they spend, 95% of teens spend on average 4.8 hours a day on social media.
Are we blaming Meta for society's problems now? Because that's what it seems like we're doing.
Well, that's
Is
like
it-
saying
it-
blaming big tobacco. You choose to smoke, but someone's at fault for it. They're making the algorithm so it's addictive.
But it's addictive if you're prone to that addiction. My issue with this is if we're going to go after Meta for this, why don't we go after teen magazines that show unreasonable body shapes? This society programs and attacks women from a very young age, saying if you don't look like this, there's a problem. You are not going to fit in with the society. There's a reason that we are inundated with body positivity hashtags now. It's because of what happened 20, 30, 40 years ago and what people have walked around with.
Absolutely.
So if we're going to start chopping at this tree, let's start at the base. And the reason that we're doing this is at the base of this is there's an attack on women's self-esteem from a very early age. And I don't know if social media has a lot to do with that, because we're not talking about teen boys.
Well, I think social media does have a lot to do with it, but I think you have to also look at what was happening with women before, or young girls before social media. To me, this whole thing seems a little antiquated to go after Meta, because most teens aren't on, they're definitely not on Facebook.
They're not on Facebook, let's be real.
They're hardly on Instagram.
Yeah, where are they, Erica?
They're on TikTok.
They're on the TikTok.
So it kind of shows you how slow and behind our government and like judicial systems are, because the wave of the future, that's the thing about social media, is it's constantly changing and evolving. There's always a new platform. You'd almost have to go after the next wave in order to really make a difference in the population today.
Well, would there be any help in regulating it now? I mean, what do you think about regulation?
I think there needs to be some.
Talk
and
to
I'm
me
not
about
for
that.
regulation. It's just like pharmaceuticals. We know that they're addictive. They have addictive properties. People knew that who tested them. Pushed them through knowing they have addictive properties. Someone's to blame for that. I've been talking about this for years.
Yeah.
Okay, Tristan Harris, I believe it was, who was in The Social Dilemma, helped create this. And he said, it's poison. I'm not on it anymore. I won't let my kids on there because I know it's addictive. Someone's to blame. I've talked about suicide rates for years on here. Nobody listens, but somebody has to be to blame. right? There is something. In China, they have a cutoff time. You can only use it from certain hours. There's certain things that you could do. Doesn't mean you have to regulate government because of it, but if you're of a certain age, maybe there should be a cutoff time. Maybe there should be a time you go on in the morning. When their filters, their algorithms all go to positive things. Everything is about learning, about nature, about history. All that's their algorithm. Ours is about what's your favorite celebrity, you don't look like this, people hate you, and it's all like hate message. It goes to whatever you're looking at. There's a way you could do it without saying, I don't want government in my business, because I don't. But there's a way you could regulate it for children to make it better for you.
I mean, in an ideal world, Jeff, I love what you're saying, but that's not American society.
But how come China could do it?
Because
we have
we're
First
not
Amendment.
China, bruh. That's I wish.
But I just
wish
don't
in a lot of
understand
ways
why
we were that we valued education more, but we don't. What do we talk about on this show? Who wore it best? Is there shade? Did she kiss Travis Kelce? That's what our country cares about. That's what teens care about. So we can say, here's a math problem. Here's a kid that solved the math problem in 30 seconds, and people are going to swipe because they don't care. We have to be honest about the society we're living in and why this thrives in our society. It's not by mistake. I guarantee you there's a different algorithm here than in Sweden. I guarantee you.
And I agree with you, but the problem is our society. It's
Right.
a problem in the whole thing. From gun control, we understand that if you regulate bullets and things like that, and you sign into the government and say, hey, I use that X amount of bullets, I could get this back, gun control goes down. But our government won't do that because it's all about money. Meta's making too much money. Social media is making too much money. So what are they going to regulate? Big business is making too much money. So what are they going to regulate? These prices that we talk about, everything being high, it's never coming down. Our wages are never going up. There's going to be a problem in the middle, and it's coming. And I've been talking about this for years, and nobody wants to say anything. Now we're talking about it, and like Erica said, we're already behind the curve.
Right.
They're talking about Meta, and TikTok is over here.
Right.
But there's going to be something that happens inside that curve to make things
uprising.
right. Nature will find a way to make things right.
That's very interesting that you say that. I wanted to ask you guys this. They're saying, quote, Meta is designing to use psychological manipulative product, that's what it is, that features to induce young users compulsive and extended use, which means they are creating the algorithm, like you said, to be addictive. Can they at least regulate that part of it for teens, or is that going too far for you, Al?
Everything that appears before your eyes on television has been regulated and made it to draw your eye. When we watched that Jada Pinkett Smith interview, I was like, don't listen to the words, look at the lighting. The lighting is supposed to make her look angelic. The music bed that they're playing underneath, the way that Hoda Kotb's listening to her and nodding, letting the audience know that what she's saying is true. I'm saying.
But as adults, we have discernment. As children, you don't.
No adult that watched that interview probably recognized that, unless you're somebody that studies for hours body language and syntax and things like that. So I'm saying that everything that you see, whether it's an advertisement for cereal or a car, the color of the person driving it, the age, if they're in the mountains or the city, everything is designed for you to be addicted to want to buy that. So I don't know if we can go after one just social media company for doing the exact same thing. Our entire country is commercialism and marketing.
Al,
that's all we are.
We put limits on driving. You could only go 65 in this area. You could put limitations on things and still let people do things. Limitations isn't governing the whole system. You could put limitations out there.
I agree with you,
I'm
Jeff.
fine with that.
I think what Al's really speaking to, in my opinion, is actually the reprogramming of our society and our brains. I don't know if we have a real precedence for something like that. And that's where we get into the territory of what's going to happen. We're real-time testing that.
We have precedents. Teenage suicide has gone up significantly since social media started.
No, I'm talking about the precedent of having something that is so ingrained in our society that we'd have to rewire people's brains. That's what we're talking
that's interesting,
about.
yeah.
But you need to rewire the system, and they could easily do that, but they would make less money.
Maybe it's easy, but I don't see, no one has a solution.
Because there's no money in it.
Right. And there's cause and correlations. Which is causing which? We have to talk about that, too. We'll be right back. Great talk.
Maxwell Banks, great comment. You know what Maxwell said, Taylor? He said, Al is right and Jeff is right, and Erica is right. They all make great points. He could have added Tori is right.
Did you hear that, Maxwell?
Maxwell?
Great note.
Maxwell. Listen, Maxwell Banks said Erica's right, Al is right, and Jeff is right. And I think that really explains a lot. And I thought Tori wasn't mentioned, but he's probably holding back for the next segment.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with what Jeff had to say. In
Right,
terms
but
of
I see your point
regulation,
too.
but
I totally agree with Jeff on that.
Yeah, no, I do, but I think Erica said it so interesting right at the end when she was like, in real time we would have to reprogram something that people have been doing
but it
for
needs to
5.
happen.
But it's like,
All you gotta do is force them to change the algorithms and the things they do that are purposefully trying to addict children. They can go do that. I'm sure there'll be a time where that becomes difficult.
you a question?
But not only should they, can they do it, they should do it.
But can I ask you something? Is that government not stepping in and regulating someone's First
The
Amendment?
government steps in and regulates all kinds of things that are harmful.
Right,
to
FCC,
children.
radio,
Yeah.
TV.
You're saying to change the algorithm in order to suit not, or people not being addicted to it. But what is that algorithm that you're changing it to? Aren't you really only changing the subject
So I'm
matter?
not the scientist who can explain exactly
Well, but
what
that's
it
what I'm
is
saying.
about the. But there are people who can point to exactly what it is.
Sure.
This, that, this. You change this program. You limit this thing
But
here.
when you
Blah blah
change
blah blah
the
blah.
program and you limit it, there has to be a replacement for it. So if your replacement, there's a replacement for this gap.
They have 4.8 hours.
So yeah, so there.
Welcome back to DBL. Are the walls closing in on former President Donald Trump? That's what a lot of people are talking about today after an ABC News reported that his final chief of staff in the White House, you might remember him, Mark Meadows, was granted immunity by special counsel Jack Smith to testify under oath. So Meadows reportedly told Jack Smith's team that he repeatedly told Trump in the weeks after the 2020 election that the allegations of significant voting fraud were baseless and that Trump was being, quote, dishonest when he claimed to have won the election. What do we think about Meadows getting immunity to tell the whole truth?
I think that's the big fish.
I completely agree.
That's the one that they were looking for, and he was the one closest to Trump, saying that this, and Trump's main defense is, I really thought I won.
Right.
So if your number one guy is saying on record that I told him many times he did not win, it really flies in the face of Trump's defense. So it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It's like a deck of cards. He picked the ace and said, I'm going to flip you.
I'm just not down with immunity.
Yeah, I hear that. But at some point, you need immunity to get the
I
bodies.
understand how the system works, but the system's very flawed because if it weren't for all the people protecting him, then this wouldn't have gone on for as long as it did, and it's been as detrimental as it was.
I agree with you. But wait, Erica, there's more. Another former lawyer for Trump, Jenna Ellis, remember this, who helped spread his claims of election fraud, are part of his elite strike force team. She was part of that. Well, she pled guilty yesterday in a deal with prosecutors in Georgia. Now, this is part of the election fraud trial in that state. Let's take a look at the statement she read in court.
I relied on others, including lawyers with many more years of experience than I, to provide me with true and reliable information, especially since my role involved speaking to the media and to legislators in various states. I believe in and I value election integrity. If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges.
Jeff, what do you think about that?
I just think everybody's jumping ship. You know what I mean? It's no different than the mafia. It's the same
Absolutely.
thing. You know, like there's one guy in charge and everybody's jumping ship because they don't want to go down with him. At one point, it's cool to follow the guy, right? The mafia boss or Donald Trump. And then when it's like, whoa, I'm going to get in trouble and he's not.
Bye.
You know,
Bye.
you got to say.
And not the tears.
Yeah, not the tears. If I'd known better, maybe don't speak to the media if you don't know better.
Jeff, I'll
Just read the paper. I don't need the dramatics.
If you think I'm not getting us velour jackets to say Elite Strike Force Team on the back, you don't know me at all.
Erica and I want to be involved.
Okay, you're in.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
I hope I am.
That's how you get involved in a crew. Please.
finally in New York yesterday. Can I be your friend? Michael Cohen, oy vey, and his old boss Donald Trump were both in court for his civil fraud trial. Cohen testified against him, saying Trump ordered him to increase the value of his total assets based upon a number that he randomly chose. Here's what Michael Cohen had to say about it outside.
This is not about Donald Trump versus Michael Cohen or Michael Cohen versus Donald Trump. This is about accountability, plain and simple, and we leave it up to Judge Engoron in order to make all the determinations on that.
What do you think about what Michael Cohen had to say and about the face-off?
Yeah, not the man who said he'd take a bullet for him.
That's exactly right.
I mean, so much has changed over the past 5 years.
Jail will do that to you,
Yeah,
Erica.
13 months of jail.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, and this is just a simple question. Trump often repeated, I'm going to drain the swamp and I'm going to get the best people. And then all these people are indicted, jump ship, say they were wrong, they were criminally wrong, they lied on the stand. What do you think about that dichotomy if we have the best people, and all these people are under indictments?
Would you say all the people in government are the best people that we could get on both sides?
I heard Michael Dean laugh.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, because it's laughable.
Well, yeah,
saying
but I've
one
never
side
seen
is
an
better than the
administration
other. They're all equally incompetent.
I wouldn't say they're equally incompetent. I haven't seen an administration go down in flames like this ever. So I'm just wondering if you think that's an interesting
But I mean,
take.
this shouldn't be the bar. I mean, I do wish that we lived in a world.
The bar is in hell, Al.
Yeah, but I mean, why is that, Erica? It's because why wouldn't you guys make great senators? It's because you don't have what it takes to destroy your opponent, to attack your opponent's kids. And that's why we have the people we have.
Or your own life.
It's such a dirty business.
Yes, and I will
your own
say, Nixon's administration did have people go down. He resigned. Let's see if Trump does the same. Coming up on DBL, we're talking with a communication expert about maintaining friendship as you age, coming up next.
It seems like members of Congress are constantly fundraising, filling their campaign war chests for the next election. But what happens to that money if they decide not to run again? Verify viewer Karen wanted to know, can politicians do whatever they want with leftover campaign funds? So Karen, let's verify. Our sources are the Federal Election Commission and the Code of Federal Regulations. When they decide to leave office, federal politicians have a lot of flexibility when it comes to their war chests. First, they're allowed to spend the money on winding down expenses, basically paying bills and whatever else is required to close up their offices. Some choose to issue refunds to individual donors. Some choose to do nothing with the money in case they decide to run again later. Politicians are also allowed to donate the money to charity, or they can donate it to other politicians, though the amount they can donate is capped at a few $1,000s per candidate. They can donate unlimited money to their party through their state, local, or national committees. Or they can essentially convert their war chest into a political action committee, which allows them to spend the money more freely later on. But they are not allowed to spend campaign dollars for personal use. The money can't just be deposited in their bank accounts or used to pay their mortgages. So we can verify, no, politicians cannot do whatever they want with leftover campaign funds. That doesn't mean they don't try, though. A 2018 investigation by our sister station, WTSP, and the Tampa Bay Times found numerous instances in which campaign money was spent on sports tickets, expensive meals, liquor, or doling out checks to friends and family. Following the report, some of these campaigns were investigated by the FEC. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Welcome back. Americans have less friends than 30 years ago, and some are calling it a pal-demic. Earlier, confidence coach Karen Donaldson shared why friendship is so important for us all. Take a look.
Karen, great to see you.
Nice to see you all. Hey, Karen. So first, can you explain why friendships are so important at any age?
Here's the thing, there's a lot of benefits to socializing and having friendships no matter your age. It's good for your overall health, and specifically, when you socialize and interact with people, it releases those feel-good hormones. The dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin, the happy hormones that improves people's moods, makes people feel content, and gives us that feeling of satisfaction. So on a whole, it positively impacts our mental health.
This is so interesting. I'm talking a lot about this with some of my friends, actually, because I don't think I'm putting in the work that I should be. And I want to talk about this pal-demic you spoke about. A new study says people in the U.S. have fewer friends than we did 30 years ago. Why is that?
Oh, really good question. So here are the exact stats. A 2023 study shows that 13% of adults say they only have 10 or more close friends, compared with 33% who were surveyed in 1990. That's actually a decrease of 20%.
Wow.
And listen to this stat. 12% of adults say they have no friends at all, right? So when we think about the why, there's a couple of reasons, or few reasons. One is that people are spending more time with their kids, leaving less time for outside relationships and friendships. The other one, the big one, the pandemic. It increased this whole loneliness epidemic as well. And then the last one is, it's real. People are consumed by work. And at the end of the day, you want to get home, you want to relax, you want to reset. Once again, it moves away time that you create with friends.
Yeah.
I wonder how much the politics and the social climate weighs into that.
That probably acts out a lot of people.
And social media.
Let's talk about the pandemic, though. How did that change friendships?
Oh, for sure. The pandemic, it truly forced us to pull back from those one-on-one, face-to-face interactions. And it literally harmed us, right? It robbed us of our sense of connection. So right now, it's harder to have real friendships online because so much can be hidden. We can't read people's body language. There's a lot of misunderstandings happen. For example, watch this one. If someone texts you and they message you with all caps, it could mean one of two things. It could mean that they're excited, or it could mean that they're yelling at you. So we lose those social nuances, and you can leave feeling, upset that your friend was yelling when in fact they're excited to tell you something, right? So that muscle can be strengthened though, so not all is lost.
Well, I'll tell you this, Karen, I'm channeling my dad as I say this, God rest his soul, but he would be like, what do I need new friends for? I got all my friends. So how much effort should adults put towards making new friends as we get older?
We need to. A lot of people think about it, like your dad said, but young people make friends easier, but it's really important. I'll tell you why. A Harvard study shows that loneliness increases the risk of stroke and heart disease by 30%. So having friends and that interaction, it's a powerful mood booster, it's a powerful overall health booster, and most important, especially in these days, it's a powerful stress buster.
Well, a lot of people say I made all my friends in the 5th grade, so how do adults go about making friends? Like, what tips do you have?
Oh, got it. So there's two phases to it. Phase one is this. You have to make a conscious decision that making friends is a priority and be willing to step outside of your comfort zone, right? That's one part. The second part is this. You have to know that it's okay to feel nervous. What it means is, drum roll, you're normal. It's just a part of the process. So when it comes to tangible tips, 2 quick things. Reassess your current connections. So do you see those connections that you may feel like you've lost, but you really valued it maybe 5, 6, 2, 3 years ago? Reach back out to those people. Get a coffee in place and deepen those relationships. And the second one, I love it. It's called the blind friendship date. We have friends who know really great people. So we are now going to put out a request for a few introductions to people in their network. Blind friendship dates.
I love that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I know. And I think just accepting that the nervous part of it is part of it.
Right.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. And also, if you haven't reached out in a while, sometimes that stops me from even trying to do. Just don't let that stop you.
Well, thank you for joining us, Karen. DBL Nation, gain more confidence.
Those are good tips.
Yep. Visit KarenDonaldsonInc.com for more information about her Coaching and Confidence Academy. We'll be right back. Thanks, Karen. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
The question comes from CremTube viewer Douglas, who asks, are private-owned community apartment tenants allowed to display political flags, signs, etc. from balconies and windows? To verify this question, we turn to Jeremiah Chin, an associate professor of law at Seattle University and Washington State Law. RCW 643834 states, the governing documents may not prohibit the outdoor display of political yard signs by an owner or resident on the owner's or resident's property before any primary or general election. However, it continues, the governing documents may include reasonable rules and regulations regarding the placement and manner of display of political yard signs. Professor Chin adds some clarity.
Generally speaking, if I'm renting an apartment, what does the law state about whether I can display a political sign, let's say, on my balcony?
So displaying a sign for, personal, especially political reasons is usually covered by a couple of things. It could either run into a leasing agreement with your tenant or landlord, or a municipal ordinance, like your city has rules and regulations about signs.
Professor Chin says a tenant's ability to display signs depends on a few factors. If your landlord is a private party, and if such signs are specifically allowed or prohibited in your lease agreement. If signs are not mentioned, Chin says you probably are okay to display them within reason.
If your rental agreement doesn't say otherwise, there would be no real problem with it, unless you're trying to put together like a 10-foot tall neon billboard on your balcony window, and then you're more worried about things like nuisance or something like that.
If your landlord is the government, Chin says, the First Amendment comes into play, placing fewer restrictions on tenants.
It would probably give you more protections to live in government subsidized housing, because now if the government is your landlord, they have to follow the First Amendment more clearly than a private party like, just a regular person renting to you.
So we can verify if your landlord is a private party and your lease agreement does not specifically prohibit the display of political signs, you are generally okay to display them within reason. If your landlord is the government, you have more protections to display your sign.
An explosion of home smart devices could threaten U.S. national security. Let's connect the dots. From thermostats to doorbells, almost everything is connected to the internet. And leaders say they could have a tie to China. It's all thanks to a growing Chinese-made cellular module that allows devices to connect to the internet. And experts warn the consequences could be devastating, including cranking up AC units to shut down the power grid or taking control of self-driving cars. Now regulators are trying to protect you so you know what you're buying. The FCC working to add a label that signifies a product meets widely accepted cybersecurity standards, all to keep both consumers and U.S. infrastructure secure. And that is connecting the dots.
Welcome back. A good remodel is all about style and function. And if you're starting on your bathroom soon, these are the most popular styles of the year. We're talking about it in today's tips, sponsored by Jacuzzi. First, natural wood vanities are back in fashion, giving character to the whole room. Next up, ceramic or porcelain tiling in the shower. Give a more modern look with a lower cost and less maintenance. And also, only consider recessed lighting options. They give the most space, and you could even get a little creative with it, okay? If you want to start your remodel, Jacuzzi can help you do it the right way. Jacuzzi offers an unmatched, stress-free remodeling process. So visit jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 1-800-990-6834.
You had me at recessed lighting.
You're really into lighting.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah,
You're gonna you should get a master's in lighting, become a lighting expert.
I would love to. I don't know where they offer that. University of Phoenix?
That's it.
All right.
We'll see you tomorrow.